All right, so I just had a fantastic alert. This is the 20-day chart of QUIK. This is a different kind of breakout than many of you guys are used to, and yet it's still a breakout. I draw this line here basically just to show you the previous highs. You had the big earnings miss here. That's the biggest story. And normally I don't like buying stocks that have earnings misses because you have so many just bitter shareholders who want to sell into any spike, and it kind of creates like this riptide that just drags the stock down into any spike. But it has been uptrending from 3, and I was looking at it here. It popped up on my stockstotrade.com filters as a breakout. I couldn't, some of you guys were like, why didn't you put it on your watch list? I couldn't put it on my watch list because the watch list comes out pre-market and it wasn't a breakout until the market opened. This was a breakout. It was a 5-day breakout over the previous highs here of 367 and really more like 365-ish. You also had a little bounce attempt right here to 370, and again, this is a terrible chart to buy normally, but the breakout got me thinking because I've been looking at this stock. They're a fast-growing company. Their revenues are surging in the hundreds of percents year over year. They were an uptrending stock for a little bit, from the 2s to the 5s, and then it kind of got it just kind of got bunched up in here. And now in the 3s, it's like a $150, $170 million company. So it's a little more than I like. Normally I like buying, $50 to $100 million companies because they can grow up faster. But they have such a fast-growing revenue base, and they're in a fast-evolving market. They basically make these components in your mobile phone that allow for all sorts of things to happen, for wearable computing and just faster processing. And, they have deals with Samsung and Huawei and a ton of other companies, not Apple yet confirmed, but they're in this hot sector. Their competitors are LSCC, Lattice Semiconductor. I don't know why this isn't working. There you go. Lattice Semiconductor is coming up in INVN, which has also been uptrending. This is a hot sector. So I'm always looking at stocks in a hot sector, especially when they're beaten down, especially when you have a ton of support here in the low 3s. When I saw the earnings miss, I was like, ignore it. I don't play earnings losers. But I still took just a quick, brief look at the chart. And, you saw, this is a 3-year chart. I mean, you saw a lot of tops in here in the low 3s, a top right here at 330, a bottom right here in the low 3s. And it was kind of interesting to me that it bottomed in here in the 315, 330 range again. And that just makes me think, okay, just ballpark, this might bottom. And I didn't even put it on my watch list because 99% of the time I wouldn't even trade it. But today's breakout at the open on no news, that got me interested. And so then today, it was a very interesting chart because, let me show you a 2-day chart. So, it closed here at 350. Remember, 365 is like multi-day resistance. As you can see here, there's a top here at 363, a top here at 367. So call it roughly 365. It's interesting that it gaps right to multi-day resistance and breaks out over 375. And if you scroll out to 10 days, you can see the resistance right here is at 363. So it's very interesting to me that it gapped above this multi-day resistance, and it hung around here just above former resistance. And so, when a stock breaks above former resistance and then it uses that basically as support, that could be something good. Okay, so it's a little bit of a breakout. It's still kind of a plague stock. If you scroll out 20 days before this run-up even happened, you're going to have a ton of resistance here at 386, 393, and most especially here at 403. So when I was buying midday, and kind of in the afternoon. I didn't think that it would necessarily do this. I had no idea, and if you add extended hours, I mean, it's up to the 420s after hours. That's fantastic. I had no idea that it would do this. I was buying in here because I thought that it had a chance of breaking 375 sometime today, maybe closing at 380, and then, if today's gap up could keep going, maybe it goes to 390 or 4. So I have like 30 cents of upside. And then I would be selling, for most likely I'd make like a quarter of a share, a quarter of a dollar a share. But the downside wasn't that much because it held support all day at 365. So my buying it in the 370, 372 range, there's not much downside. So I thought it might be good. It's a Friday afternoon, and as I posted here in the chat room, when I bought 46,000, this is now different, my average price, because I added to it, but I initially bought it at 372-ish, and actually some long-term at 369-ish, but I bought this multi-day breakout above 365, which I already said, gapped up strongly, and now big buyers near day highs. Reading this makes me think we might see Samsung announcement next week. I also bought long-term. As I read the conference call notes, earnings miss was due, you can't really see all of this. Earnings miss was due to inventory issues, nothing major going forward. Goal is to sell short-term resistance at 4-ish. Hopefully it spikes into the market close 30 to 50 cents a share upside, 10 to 15 downside, speculative. And I put speculative in caps because, this was a speculative trade. This isn't like an earnings winner. This isn't a contract winner. It was just a multi-day technical breakout in a hot sector on a Friday. Those of you who have seen my Tim Raw DVD know that stocks can tend to really run on a Friday. And this is what I read on the message boards. Just Yahoo Finance, same research process as always that I go over in Tim Fundamentals and Tim Fundamentals Part 2, nothing fancy. And this was interesting. Mobeam, Samsung, and Quick connecting the dots. So here's an excerpt from Mobeam's April 22nd announcement. Mobeam's barcode transmission technology is exclusive to Samsung Galaxy S5. So Mobeam announced they're able to use their Beep and Go mobile app on Samsung Galaxy S5. Now, this is what's interesting. So I read this message, and then after I read this message, I read the whole conference call, and this is a true statement. On QUIK's conference call, where they, the stock tanked because they basically cut their next quarter's revenues like in half. They're supposed to do like 10 million, and they're coming in at like 6 or 6.5. But it was due to inventory issues. It's not because their technology isn't being used, and it was inventory issues on an older product. Anyways, this is what's interesting. We continue to believe that our Polar Pro 3 platform family will begin to generate production revenue during the second half. The 3 most common functions supported by programmable blah, 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 blah. A Tier 1 mobile OEM has granted Polar 3 technical approval for use in a production design. Our goal at this OEM is to intersect a production device from an ongoing smartphone platform during the second half. At that point, we'll be positioned to compete for the next major platform. So this guy says there can be no doubt because of the QUIK barcode transmission announcement with Mobeam and Mobeam's exclusivity with Galaxy S5 that the Tier 1 here is Samsung, and the device being intersected is the Galaxy S5. And this guy says, seems that way. I would like to see more customer differentiation. And this guy makes a good point. Wherever Samsung goes, other will follow. That's why there are leaders and followers. Best to get in with the leader. And I agree with this statement. I like when you put announcements together rather than just speculating who are they working with. You see, okay, QUIK and Mobeam are together. Mobeam is with Samsung, so there's some mathematical formula. What is that? Differentiation? Differentials? I don't even remember. I'm not good at math. I'm telling you, I'm not that smart. Some people are like, Tim, you're a genius. No, I just know how to, put the clues together. It's not displacement. I don't know. Whatever it's called. Mobeam is with Samsung. QUIK is with Mobeam. So by process of elimination, QUIK might be with Samsung. it's worth a shot. I don't know if it's 100% true or not, but I bought the technical breakout speculating on a Friday afternoon that this stock might run up. That was the whole gist of this trade. It wasn't anything huge. I had no idea that it was going to do all of this. I mean, I was flabbergasted. I actually sold some into the run-up here in the 394s because I was like, there's resistance at 4-ish. Let me just take my 24, 23 cents a share on some of my position just to lock in, roughly a little less than $2,000 on that section. And then it just kept going. And I was fortunate enough to like see that and buy right back and actually add to my position here in the 394 range. Because, within seconds of me selling, and some of you guys are like, oh, when you sell, the stocks always tank. Well, you guys don't always see a stock that goes my way, okay? A lot of these stocks, when I make 5, 10, 15 cents a share, the stock didn't do what I wanted. This is the first time in a few weeks, really, that the stock did exactly what I wanted. When I sell and the stock goes higher, that's a good sign. That's a sign that there's a lot of buyers. So I added to my position here, and then it just started getting crazy. And, I could have sold all. I could have locked in $20,000 in profits, or maybe it was like 17 or 18,000 at the close. But I was like, you know what? Let's see where this goes. It's a Friday. Whether I make 17,000 or 10,000 or 50,000, it's not going to change my life. But when a stock does exactly what I want, I'm going to not just hold it. I'm going to add to my position. And I know this is confusing for some of you. I mean, I did sell some just to play some safe, but then when it kept going higher into my sell, and I know other people who are buying here are selling, and it just keeps going higher. That means that this could keep going. So, forgetting the possible Samsung deal, I gave some commentary here, and I said, uptrending perfectly, new day high at 388. And you see this 12:10 p.m. This is because I'm on the West Coast, so I'm literally a zombie right now as I'm filming this on a Friday night. So it's roughly 3:10 p.m. Eastern. And it just keeps going. So then I say, if you ever have any doubts what kind of perfect price action that gets me to hold the stock, CQUIK, or QUIK, broke the day high and just keeps going. And then I said I might add to this position if it closes strongly. So this is at 12 or 3:13 p.m. Then at 3:30, I sell 8,500, some at 92, some at 93. And I just wanted to take some. I said, sold some just to lock in some gains. This is performing as good as can be expected, but my position is still speculative, as you can see. We'll see how it closes. Might add to the position or might sell more. We've got to see price action convert. So far, this is sweet. Then I asked everyone how much are they up, and then I was like, oh my god, this just keeps going. It went to 397, 398, then came down a little bit to 394, and I'm like, I need to buy more. And then I said, if we can get above 4. Then it can fill the gap to the 420s. And it obviously did that. So then QUIK over 4, and it's 403 with 12 minutes to go. And then I said, I want everyone watching QUIK, even if you're not long, something's definitely up. This price action is ideal. When stocks spike on a Friday afternoon, big announcements are possible on Monday. I love this price action. And then this is what I said. Action on QUIK reminds me of YOD many Fridays ago. Seeking Alpha article then led to a 100% spike the next 2 days. Fingers crossed. I don't know if there's going to be a Seeking Alpha article or not. I don't know if there's going to be a Samsung announcement. I just see price action. I go with charts and I go with price action. And then after hours 416, I'm up 22,000. And I'm just pumped at 420, and then I'm like, now I'm up 25,000. So it was fantastic, and I got to mention all of you guys. I copied and pasted some. This guy's up 70. Brad C is up 300. David is up 850. Zatara can buy some beer and pizza. This guy's up 200. Oh, so many people. Bob Garrett, I love this. He was. This was actually on a former one. Here's Bob Garrett. Made 1,350. I brought him on the yacht trip. Jay Donna is up 436. I love this. So we're going to see what the news is over the weekend, but this is a runner. So congrats, guys. I got to do another video lesson just talking more about, more of the people who banked on this, because this is so rare that you guys get to understand, exactly how great price action this is. And this kind of price action is why I trade. I have no idea why it's up so much. I don't care, really. I just know that the price action is going in my direction, and I want to be involved. So I got involved. I sold a little to play it safe, but then I added once the price action was stronger. I know this is very, very confusing for some of you guys who see me, go in and out of trades in 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes, and I make or lose 5, 10, 15 cents a share, and you're like, how does this guy make any money at all? Is he just a scalper? And the thing is that you don't understand that the small gains and small losses don't matter to me. They're all scratches. And this is very difficult for people to understand because, when they see me make like $2,000 on a trade, they're like, wow, he just made $2,000 and he's a scalper. That's pathetic. For me, $2,000 is irrelevant. The way that I'm up now nearly $600,000 in just a few months is to go for the big wins. Right now, in after hours, I'm up roughly $25,000 on this. That is a good, solid win. Maybe on Monday, if there is news or if the technical breakout continues, maybe I make 30 or 40 or 50,000. That's the kind of money that can really grow your account where, you're moving up 5, 10, 15, 20% of your account value on one trade. So don't be confused. And I know this is tough for a lot of you newbies to understand, but whether I make or lose 5, 10, 15 cents a share, mostly, I'm not talking about like stocks like under 50 cents a share, but when I'm trading, $2, $3, $5, $10, $20 stocks, if I get out so quickly, it didn't do what I wanted. And that happens a lot. And those plays just don't matter. I had a great comment from a challenge student. I was looking for it. I don't even know, I'm getting emails, text messages, Facebook messages, YouTube messages, tweets, people in the chat room. So people are contacting me so many different ways. I look for like 5 minutes and I'm like, my head is pounding. I've had a long week. I want to take a nap. But the challenge student was like, this is my first play where I'm like 1 for 5. Before I was like 0 for 4 and I was beginning to doubt you. And, he followed up in another comment saying, yeah, I was 0 for 4, but they were all small losses. With this one, I think he was long. I'm going to massacre it. I think he bought 7,000 shares at 380. And now, at 420, 40 cents a share, he's up $3,000. And on the previous 4 losses, he only lost like $500 or $600 total. He lost like 80, he lost like 100, and that's frustrating. But that's the game. Small losses don't matter. They can be wiped away with one good call. So you don't know which ones of the trades are actually going to be huge. I mean, this one was just a speculative trade. I didn't think it would turn into anything huge, but I gave it a chance because I trusted the chart. And I need more of you guys to do that. A lot of people are like, I don't understand. This is not the kind of long-term chart that you buy. There's no earnings win. There's no contract win. Every now and then I'll take a speculative trade based on the framework that I just explained. There was a technical breakout. It was on a Friday. It was strong with no news. I like when stocks are strong with news that I can predict. Because then I'm like, oh, the stock is up. It's due to earnings. It's due to this contract win. It's riskier to buy a stock when you don't know what the news is. But it can also be very rewarding. Speculative trades don't always have to end terribly. They end terribly if you don't play them safe and you don't pay attention to the risk. Like if, QUIK didn't continue breaking out, let's say it had faded to 365 and then 360 by the close, I'd be out. I'd be losing 10 cents a share. And people would be like, oh, you got to stick to earnings and contract winners. But it didn't fade. It kept going, and we don't know why yet. And, maybe there'll be no news. Maybe there'll be an upgrade. Maybe we'll be Samsung. Maybe there'll be a Seeking Alpha article. I don't know, and I don't care. I trusted the chart. I bought the breakout. All I did was anticipate a breakout. It already had one breakout over 360, 365. I anticipated another breakout over 375. And because this was so speculative, I wasn't going to be like, oh, I have to wait until 375 breaks out. I was trying to dip buy, as close to the support of 365 and 367 as I could. It dropped in the morning to, it dropped here to 363, and then one drop here to 362, and it dropped here to 365, then one drop here to 364, and then it was like uptrending a little bit. And at this point, I'm like, you know what? It's a Friday afternoon. I'm not going to worry about 3 or 5 cents a share. If this thing is meant to break out on a Friday, it could really start to spike, and that's exactly what happened. So I'm very proud of this trade. I'm proud of selling some here at 394 just in case the breakout didn't continue. I'm proud of myself for holding through this and even adding to my position on strength because, I have these rules that I teach, but I don't always follow them. Sometimes I get greedy. I don't think many of you guys would blame me if I just locked in like $13,000 or $15,000 profit into the market close and just say, you know what, good speculative trade, I'm done. I don't want to risk it over the weekend. But I couldn't do that. I couldn't just take the profits because the price action was so strong, I knew I would feel guilty. I started thinking about it, if there is news, if the stock keeps spiking, why did I sell? If I had theoretically sold here all of my position at 4 or 405, why would I have sold? I would have sold just to lock in, a very solid profit. And so I locked in some, but it just kept going. There should have been resistance here at 4 and 403, and there was none. So when it's blowing by resistance, like it's going up faster and further than I thought, I got to stay in, and I got to go big. My two $70,000 profit days just a few weeks ago, each of them, I went big in EKSO, which turned out to be a Seeking Alpha story. I had no idea it was going to be Seeking Alpha. I was on a yacht. My yacht students can attest to this. Actually, one of my yacht students found it. Blake found it on Stocks to Trade, but they had news on CNET, and I was like, oh, this news will probably travel over the weekend. It's going to get hyped up, and I bought a $300,000 position in EKSO, and I was rewarded, and I made 70 grand the following Monday, and I sold too early. It could have been a $200,000 profit. Same thing shorting CNTO. I was shorting it. For those of you who don't remember, CNTO was this pump. It had finally cracked. This was the first dip where the bounce wasn't a higher high, it was a lower high, and I went big, and it turned out to get halted. I covered way too soon in here in the 120s, 130s. I still made 70 grand, and then a few days later it could have been 200 grand. So both of my 70 grand profits back in February, I held and had I really trusted price action more, each of them would have been a $150,000, $200,000 profit. CNTO within a few days, and EKSO, I bought it here in the low 5s and high 4s, sold it here in the low 6s, and I went to 8 same day. So I learned from those two, and that's what you have to do. You have to learn to trust price action. So with QUIK, I trusted price action. I'm long big time over the weekend. I have no idea where it's going, but I think it's heading in the right direction. I missed out on Zendesk. I should have bought the technical breakout. I mentioned it in the chat room. If you look at, this technical breakout over the morning highs, 1340-ish, and it went all the way to 14, and the next day it goes to 15. And now, it went to nearly 16. So you have a perfect technical breakout. I didn't trust the chart with that because it's an IPO. I use Zendesk, so I'm, my company does, so we're biased. But with QUIK, I just looked at all of the information, knowing that it's a Friday, knowing that it's a multi-day breakout, and I went with it. And, I want to continue mentioning everybody because everybody is worth mentioning. Monty Lee said, awesome price action warning gap and started gearing up around 368. So far, $628 profit for me. Awesome. M. Lagerworth made $500 on a $5,500 account. So he's up 10%. Fantastic. This guy's $320 in 20 minutes. V-Ball Sean is up $330. MBS Ty is up $200. Are You Serious is up $50. A paltry amount late to the party, up $20 and 140 shares. This guy, wish I was bigger here, up $80 on a $1,000 investment. Good call, Tim. You killed it. Still climbing. Up $45 on 150 shares. 500 shares for WC Conklin. In at 378, out at 392. So he sold too soon. But again, you guys, a lot of you are like, I sold too soon. I missed it. I didn't get in big enough. At least you're learning. You have to remember, more than 50% of my job is just to show you these patterns and for you to see them in real time. And I wish that these patterns happened every single day. I wish they happened every single hour. They don't. All you can do is try and trade with a framework and put yourself in a position to have these big wins where, the rules that I have allowed me to keep holding them. Okay? A scalper would never have let this go. Somebody with different rules who doesn't like to hold overnight would never have held the position, and they wouldn't be, in position for a bigger profit. And I think that's their fatal flaw. While a lot of people don't see these perfect plays very often, it's the perfect plays that make your year. It's the perfect plays that make your career. And you need to put yourself in a position to take maximum gains from them using rules, and you need to adapt your rules to get into the best position. So some of you guys missed it or didn't go big enough. At least you're learning. That's so important. Don't underestimate that. I talk about the testimonials, look at all the people who made money here and there. I get so many more emails from people who are just learning too, and maybe they're not trading or maybe they're paper trading. I'd probably guess a third of my subscribers think I'm full of shit. And they think that I'm just, scalping 10, 15 cents a share here or there, and they think that's how my gains add up. Because they look at my average, trades over 15 years and they see, oh, Tim's average gain is $2,000. He just makes 10 or 15 cents a share and then that's it. There's no real way to play that. And that's wrong. Yes, my average gains are $2,000 roughly per trade over 15 years, but it's not 2, 2, 2, 2, 1.5, 2.5, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. It's, $1,000 or $2,000 gains or losses. Sometimes like a $3,000 or $4,000 loss. I also took a loss this morning, on RCON. I was wrong about it. But I cut losses as quickly as I could. It dropped a little too quick for me. QUIK. But I cut losses and I moved on to something better. That's because my rules work. So when I lose a few $1,000s in the morning, that's fine. Because now I'm up 8, 9, 10 times that, and I'm in a position to make 20, 30 times that. And it's so difficult for me to teach you because you never know which stock is going to be the perfect trade. But QUIK, the price action is perfect. We'll see about the news. And I'm going to ride it because that's what my rules say to do. And I'm so proud of following my rules to a T on this one. From getting in on the breakout, waiting until the afternoon. Like I could have bought any time during today, but I didn't because I wanted to, see if it would hold its gains and wait until the afternoon, as I talked about in DVDs like Tim Line. Sold some just to play it safe in here in the 394s. Added right away, within seconds or within minutes actually, because it was just strong, and then holding. And we'll see if I'm rewarded or not. But so far, it's been a beautiful pick. Congrats to all of you who are long, and more importantly, those of you who are learning.
My name is Tim Sykes, and I teach people to trade stocks. I am a self-made multimillionaire.
So this is the ideal trade that I'm going to talk about. I want you guys to understand every single aspect of this trade.